All right, let's go ahead and start with our initial recon. And here we'll use this P flag to target all the 65,000 or so ports. And we'll do it with a min rate of 5,000 because we're not worried about being noisy or being detected. We just kind of want to be as fast as possible. And in this case, we came back with 3 ports. 2 of them are open and 1 is filtered. 22 TCP open for SSH. And that's really interesting. That just gives us an indication that going forward, if we get some type of credentials, we may be able to SSH into the machine. The other that's important is the 80 TCP for HTTP. Now, typically on 80, it is a website. So we have a web app that we will be targeting going forward. The other one is filtered and unknown. I'm not too sure about that. We can scan it, but in this case, what I'm more focused on are the open ones. So let's go ahead and do another scan now. In this case, we want to be a little bit more specific, but let's say we do want a little bit more information on what that filtered one is. Let's go ahead and just add that into our ports here. And we've removed this little dash here and thrown in the 3 ports that gave us from the initial recon. And now we've added nmaps scripts, the SC and the SV here. And we are still targeting the IP address, but we're also using this ON flag to save the results in a flat file called nmap alert so that we could reference it going forward. So let's go ahead and run that scan and see what comes out of it. And here we go. So that finished up around 10 seconds. Let's take a look. So we have a bunch of information. Now we can see what version SSH is. It looks like it's pretty up to date, but it's given us an indication that it is on Ubuntu Linux. Now, the other interesting part is here for the 80, the website, we are getting Apache. So we have now a version that we can potentially take a look at. The other thing that's interesting is we're getting an HTTP title that it says it did not follow the redirect to alert.htb. So that gives us a nice little indication that we can go ahead and throw that into our Etsy host so we can resolve the IP address to the name. And we don't have to worry about remembering the IP address going forward. We can just go ahead and write the name. Now, the last one, the filtered one, we were just getting back an OS for Linux. So nothing really interesting there. Let's go ahead, open up a new tab here. And then I'm going to CD into the HackTheBox alert so I can keep everything nice and organized. And now we can go ahead and take the name and do a sudo nano Etsy host and throw in the IP address here with the name alert.htb and save it and exit. Let's just verify that we can in fact reach it. So I will ping alert.htb and there we go. We are getting back a response from that. So that's awesome. I'm gonna quit out of that, clear it. And now we can go ahead and start our Burp Suite and Firefox combo. So I'm gonna launch Burp Suite. And Community Edition is completely fine. And now I'm gonna launch Firefox. And here we go. So we can now go to alert.htb. And let's take a look. It looks like we were redirected to an index page here for the page equals alert. And it looks like it is a markdown viewer with the please select a markdown file and we can upload it and view it from the website. Very interesting. If it's on the home page, I'm assuming that's probably going to be our attack vector. But the other thing I've noticed is there are a contact us and an about us. So contact us, there is a contact form filled out that we can potentially take advantage of. About us, there isn't anything. There is a donate. So that is also really interesting. So it looks like there are 3 pages, but the other thing I like doing before actually diving into the website is I typically like running scans in the background that may take a while to run. So let's go ahead and do that now. So here is my first FFUF scan. FFUF is the tool that I love using the most. What I'm doing here is we're looking for vhost. In other words, we're looking for subdomains a part of alert.htb. So here I have FFUF. We're using this word list, a part of the sec word list, the subdomains top 1 million for the URL, the alert.htb, with a host header here that we're looking for, that we're fuzzing for, is the subdomains. So we're seeing if there's anything like marketing or financial or admin or whatever the case is. We're going to go ahead and run that, and we're going to get a bunch of noise in our scan. So we do need to filter out based on this scan. So what I like doing is I'll add a FW for the words here. I want to filter out based on words because I'm noticing size is fluctuating from 309 to 314, so forth and so on, but we can still filter out based on size. But I figured we're always getting back 20. So let me go ahead and do a filter by words by 20 and let that run. And it looks like that picked up something right away. In fact, statistics. So there looks like there is a vhost, a subdomain for statistics, but it is a 401. So we're going to let that run. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new tab, CD back into the HackTheBox alert, and do another FFUF scan now for just the directories. So we can see if there's any hidden directories that isn't on the initial page. In this case, I'm going to delete all this, add in the fuzz here at the end. And from here, we can go ahead and change this user list, this word list that we want. Instead of DNS, it's probably going to be a web content here. And let's go with, I don't know, Raft. Let's see, Raft large directories. And we'll let that run. And it looks like that's picking up something as well. The other thing to keep in mind is we're here fuzzing for the URL. We're fuzzing for this extension here. But when we go back here, we notice it is an index page. So it is built on PHP. It's giving us an index page, and it has here the page alert. So I'm wondering if we can start fuzzing here the alert the other way. And the other thing is maybe we could start doing some type of like LFI fuzzing, where if maybe potentially we can get an LFI like this. But in this case, we just tested it. We didn't get anything back, right? But we can still run a word list on this and see maybe there is some type of like white list that's blocking this initial LFI or not. Who knows? All right, moving on. Since we've run those scans, we can go ahead and copy this information, keep it on our notes. The other thing I like doing from here is maybe the Raft large directories list didn't work for us, or maybe we should try another list. I'll typically have that running in the background, and then I'll start messing around with where I want to fuzz this. Maybe we do in fact need to do the index.php and start fuzzing it that way. You can do a number of different things, but let's take a look at this vhost, the subdomain, because we are getting statistics back. So let's go ahead and do http statistics alert.htb, and let's take a look at what's going on here. And it looks like it is a blank page. It is not resolving. So we did miss a step that we need to take care of. And that step is going back into our Etsy host file and making sure that we add in this new subdomain so we can actually resolve it correctly. So here we go, statistics.htb, statistics.alert.htb. And I'm going to save it and now exit out of it. And then now when we go back to the website, we can actually access this subdomain. So it looks like it comes back with some type of credentials here, and we might as well try to maybe get lucky and do like admin password or admin, or maybe admin alert, but it looks like we're not getting anything there. So there's no easy wins. And we're getting an unauthorized here where your supplied password credentials are incorrect. So from here, we could do a number of things. We could probably try to brute force this. Probably not likely, but it looks like we do need to for sure get some type of credentials for this site. So let's go ahead and pivot back into the main website, because there are some interesting attack vectors on the main website. And we know now we don't have access to the statistics. The other thing I like doing is once I finish my FUF scans on the main websites for the directories and so forth and so on, might as well start fuzzing here where we're looking for maybe hidden directories on the statistics site, or maybe in fact even do another FUF scan and we'll fuzz another subdomain on the subdomain. Now that might be something more interesting. Maybe like there's an admin, or there's a dev, or there's a prod, statistics, so forth and so on. So we can probably do those in the background while we figure out this main website attack vector. All right, looking at the main website, so we are getting a markdown viewer. Let's go ahead, since it is on the homepage, might as well test to see if this actually works in fact, or is it going to display our markdown file or not. And here we go. I have here a very simple test that I'm going to run for XSS in this markdown file. And I'm going to simply upload it and click view, and it looks like there is a vulnerability here because we are getting back this nice little neat alert pop-up for Neo. And I'm going to click OK, and it looks like there is a share markdown file link here. And if I look at the bottom left, there is a link _shared, and then this very obfuscated file name with a markdown file. So let's go ahead and click that and see what that does. And here we go. Here is it showing up right there. Visualizer.php, link share, and this obfuscated name for this markdown file, but it is giving us an error for an invalid file. From here, let's go ahead and test the rest of the website. So we're going to go back to the home page, and remember we do have a contact us and a donate. Let's see with the contact us if we can get this XSS to work on here as well. And here I'm going to simply put test@test.com, and now we're going to paste in this script that I'm doing. And instead of me doing the alert box, since we know that works, what I'm essentially doing here is I'm trying to fetch from my server the IP address that I'm running under for this VPN. What I'm trying to do is fetch the document.cookie and see if that works. So we're testing this in a number of ways. We're testing to see, does XSS work on the contact us? Does the server actually reach out to our local Python server that we're going to be running? And does it attach the document.cookie? So before I actually send this through the contact page, I do need to go back into the terminal here and run a HTTP server so that we can get a response to see if those actually work or not. So let's go ahead and send that and go back, and it looks like we did get a hit. So we know XSS is working, and we're actually able to get a hit on our Python server locally, but it looks like the third one, the cookie, where it would append the cookie, it looks like we're not able to actually get the cookie for this website. So we see here the get cookie, and we're getting this %27, and that's probably a URL encoded for the single quote. So we're not actually seeing the rest of it on here. And that's probably due to maybe HTTP only or some type of secure flag. And that could be because the server is filtering by HTML entity encoding, or in other words, HTML escaping. So it looks like because of those flags, either the HTTP only flag or some type of secure flag, and it's escaping that HTML, that we're actually not able to get the cookie this way. So we need to pivot, but we know 2 out of the 3 work. Now we need to figure out, how do we get the third one to work? How do we bypass that HTTP only? Now you gotta remember, there are other parts of the website that we are messing around with, right? So we were playing around with the markdown file, and we know XSS works with that. And we know XSS works with the contact us. So maybe we can bypass this HTTP only through the markdown file, right? So if we upload some type of script, some type of payload in the markdown file that is actually able to access the backend in the server and actually request the document.cookie by itself, and then actually submit it to us, maybe we are able to get access to it that way. So let's go ahead and attempt to do that. So we'll go back into here, into the terminal. I'm going to clear the screen to keep it nice and clean. From here, let's go ahead and take a look at the new payload that I have. So here is the payload. I have a script, and I'm fetching the source code for the home page essentially. And what it's doing is it's taking that data and it's using the PTOA to encode it to base64 encoded, and then append it to the end of here, this data for this fetch for the VPN IP address that I'm running under. So let's go ahead and test this proof of concept out first and see if we run into any issues before proceeding forward. So I'm essentially going to save this and exit out. And now let's not forget that we do want to run our Python server. And then we can go back here and upload this, and let's see. So we're going to upload it. We can even click here. I know I'm hiding it, but there is a share markdown file link button in the bottom right that will load it. And we can take a look at the page source for this link that it popped up for, just to see if our script payload is in fact there or not. And it is, it's showing up. So that's awesome. So we can go back into here, and it looks like that did work out. So we were able to get it. We have 2 requests, one from the initial upload and the other probably from the initial load of the URL sharing. Now, this is really interesting because this is pretty dangerous when it comes to like sharing links in this matter, right? So let's take a look at this. So here is the data that we were able to capture. We can simply just copy this data here that is base64 encoded, open up a new window, go back into the HackTheBox alert, and now we can echo this, and we'll do pipe it through the base64 decode. And there we go. So we got back the page source from the website through this vulnerability, this script. Now, I know this isn't that important, right, to just get the page source for the homepage, but we're trying to test this proof of concept out, because now let's see if we can take advantage of this and start going through and see if we can uncover any secrets. So I'm going to clear this screen. Let's go back here. Let's close out of this, and let's now go back into the neo.md, and instead of here for the page, for the home page, let's do something different. Let's go back into our Fuzzing. And remember, when we did this discovery for the raft large directories, we got back some results, right? We got back some 301s, upload CSS messages being the most important one in my mind anyways. Hopefully that can uncover something for us. So let's go ahead and append the messages into this here. So messages. And we do need to remember that when we first launched the website and took a look at it, we were being redirected to the index.php. So we know the site is built on PHP. So we do need to add in the .php here. So let's go ahead and save that. And now we can test that out. So let's do the Python server again. And we'll go back here and we'll close out of this link. We'll go back and we'll browse again for the Neo. So we'll re-upload that. And let's take a look. So we uploaded it. We probably will get the trigger on the first and we're not getting what we wanted. Let's go ahead and click the share link and let's take a look at the page source to see if that all worked out. Yes, it is in fact there. Okay, so let's see. And it looks like we're just getting back this CG, right? We're not getting anything out of this. So what could be going wrong? Now, remember we were messing around with the contact form. So what I'm assuming is on this request that we're trying to make, it's probably giving us a forbidden or something of that nature where it's not actually getting the information for us. So let's take this link that we have, a very dangerous link that can be shared across a number of different ways. Let's take this link and we'll go back into the alert here. We'll go back into the contact form. So in my mind, the way I'm thinking of this is we're trying to bypass this 301 messages by essentially using the contact form. So we're uploading this script to the markdown file and we're hoping for the server to do its magic to take the messages page encoded in base 64. And now we're going to essentially try to see if we can make it work this way. So I'm going to put here, let's do script source here, and we'll paste in that URL and then we'll enclose it. So we're going to put these two vulnerabilities together and hope for the best. I'm going to send that and let's take a look. And there we go. We got back something else. So that is awesome. So it looks like we were able to bypass those either HTTP only or whatever secure flags there are by pairing these two vulnerabilities together. So let's take a look and see what is this data exactly. So I'm going to copy this, go back in here, echo it, base 64 decode. And it looks like we got back something here. So we're getting backup messages with some type of URL. So it looks like there is some extension here for this. So I'm going to copy this extension 2024 3. Okay. So let's go back here and let's go into the original payload that we have and paste in that, and let's take a look. So we're going to re-upload this, but before we do that, let's run our Python server again, go back to the website, go back to the browse, upload, view. Now the initial one makes sense, right? Now we need to click the share button, get the link. Since we're still getting that is expected. Go into the contact form, paste in, do the script source, right? And there we go. And the script, send that. And let's take a look. And we did get back something else. So let's see what this is. So we'll echo this. Base 64 and we're getting back a nothing burger. We're getting back a pre. Okay, so there's nothing in there. So that is interesting. It looks like we're running into a dead end now, right? So I don't know if that file was a troll, but the more I'm thinking about it, okay, this initial one is giving us this question mark file equals, right? And remember when we were earlier in this testing, remember we were discussing about LFI and seeing if we could do that. So maybe instead of here, this file name, maybe we could do something else. So let's go back and go back into our initial one here. We know this file isn't working out for us. So maybe we need to do some type of LFI. So I'm thinking, let's do like an Etsy password for the messages. Let's see if this works. So I'm going to save that, go back. Let's go back here. Let's clean this up so we can keep track of everything. Upload the Neo again. We forgot to run our Python 80. Okay. We'll launch that link. That link should come back with that. Yep, that makes sense. We'll copy this link. Go in here, do the script again, script source equals, paste in that. And there we go. So let's send to that and let's see. That is awesome. So we got back something even better. So let's copy that. And here we'll paste it in. We'll base 64 decoded. And there we go. That is awesome. That is a good dopamine hit right there. We got back the password file. And now we have information on what users are on this system. And we're seeing here, David has a home, right? He has a home, David bin bash, David, Albert, so forth and so on. So we can go ahead and copy this in our notes and save these names, because maybe we need to figure out how do we get access to David or Albert. So let's go ahead and I'm going to clear the screen. And now let's go back into the neo.md. And now we know we have access to it, right, to the Etsy password. So we can potentially try to see if we can, we can get the user flag this way. But I think the goal here is trying to figure out how do we get the credentials for the website for the statistics. So that's the goal here. Now we have LFI. Let's figure out what files do we need to access in order for us to get those credentials for the website. So you could do it a number of different ways. You could start Googling, start fingerprinting. What was this on? Remember our initial scans. If we take a look on our initial scans, we know, okay, it is on Apache 2.4.41. So we can kind of assume what that file link is going to be. All right, from here, this is the payload that I found that worked for me. It is the script I am fetching here using the LFI, right? And we're actually targeting the var www for the statistics.alert.htb file. That is the vhost, the subdomain that we're trying to access. And we're looking at the HT password file for the credentials. So I'm going to save that and exit out. And now we do need to remember to run our Python server, go back to the browser and upload the Neo one, the latest one that I've been playing around with. I'm going to hit the view markdown and we're going to get back a request, but obviously we're not gaining any information. We do need to hit the share markdown file, get the link. We can verify to see if our payload is correctly in there by viewing the page source. And it is. We can take this link, go here into the contact form, put in the test, and here we'll do a script source equals, paste into that link, enclose it, enclose the script there, send it, and take a look at that request. So we got back that. That is awesome. another little dopamine hit. Copy that, go in here, echo it out, base64 decode it, and there we go. We got back Albert's credentials. That is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, throw that into a hash file that I have here. Let's cat it. Let's see, there it is. And now we can run hashcat on it. So there is hashcat. It does its thing. I've already ran it. I've already cracked it. But let's go through it. So it's telling us it's a 1600 for an MD5. So let's do that. Let's go hashcat. And here we'll do an M flag for the 1600 with an A flag for 0 for the hash.txt, which is the file that we have here that we got from that URL. And we're running it through the rocku.txt to crack this password. Now, like I said, this is cracked already. So let's go ahead and run the show for it, and there it is, the Manchester United. So that is the password. So now that we have the password, let's go ahead and copy that, and we know, let's see, that it was Albert. So we'll go back to the site, we'll go statistics, and we'll do Albert and paste in that password, and there we go. We have admin access to the alert, to the statistics dashboard. So that is awesome. Since we were able to get access to the admin, let's go ahead and take that password, open up a new window, cd into the HackTheBox alert, and let's try to SSH as Albert on the alert.htb, put in that password, and there we go. We have SSH with Albert's credentials. So that is awesome. All right, from here, let's do the typical sudo L. So we are going to sudo L just to see if we have privileges to do anything. And it looks like we're getting back a sorry, user Albert did not run sudo on alert. That sucks. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to open up a new window, did my breakout, because I remember when we were testing with that LFI XSS that we did get a few users. So let's take a look. So there is a David user and we are Albert. So maybe we need to either pivot into David or find another way to escalate into root. So let's take a look before trying to figure out that. Typically from here, what I like doing is either downloading linps onto the machine and running it that way. You could do that through PHP and just doing a request for it and download it that way. But since we already have SSH, we might as well just simply do a SCP and transfer it that way. But before doing any of that, I usually leave that at the last end of it because I do want to figure out if we can escalate to root another way than relying on linps. So let's go ahead, since we did sudo L, let's see what other things can we do. So maybe pxaux will show us anything. So let's do that. Let's take a look through here. So we're seeing a bunch of different things, root, Albert, data. So there is the Apache 2 server that is starting the website. Let's take a look. So here is something by root, that bin bash root. It's running some scripts, XSS bot scripts. So I'm wondering if that's like a cleanup script or something. Here is the alert messages thing. Okay. Here is a PHP bot script that it's running. Nothing interesting yet. Here is something interesting for an opt website monitor config, and that is also run by root. Again, some bin bash scripts for that. And it looks like we're getting here another thing by root. a user bin PHP, and it's running locally on 8080 for the folder opt website monitor. So I'm going to copy that. That is interesting. So come on, server. Let's do a netstat and let's take a look. Okay, so that is running TCP. It is listening on 8080. Let's see if we can curl it or if the server is going to die on me. Come on, server. There it goes. Ooh. Okay, so that worked. So we're able to reach it. Looks like a bunch of mess. But it is a website monitoring site. Okay. If that's the case, then let's go ahead and CD into it. And we do have CD privileges in there. Okay, so it is all under management. Oh, all under root, but one is under management. And I did forget at the beginning to do ID. That's an important thing to see because we could have missed this. We are part of the management groups as Albert. And there is one thing that we can edit, and that is in the config folder. So that is interesting. Let's go ahead and go into that. And let's see. So the configuration file does have management on it. Let's nano it and take a look. And okay, PHP define path. So I'm assuming then maybe we can replace this code with some type of code that will have us privilege escalate as root. So I'm thinking either doing maybe like a netcat type of thing where we can get a reverse shell that way, or maybe just simply doing a bin bash plus s. I think that might be the best. So let's try that. So here we go. Let's just simply delete those, put in this code, php exec chmod s for the bin bash, and I'm going to go ahead and save it. And we're getting some type of, okay, like file was modified since you opened it, continue saving it, sure. So we might not be able to actually save this. Let's see if we exit. So let's nano it again. And it looks like there is some type of script in the backend that's either because it's running initially, or maybe there's a script on the backend that's making us not be able to edit this file. So that sucks, but that doesn't mean that we're at a dead end yet, because we do have management group rights of this folder. So let's simply nano neo.php, paste in that exact same thing and save it. And let's see, okay. So it is there. So what I'm assuming now is maybe we can simply just curl this page and execute the code in it that way. Let's go ahead and try that. So I'm going to simply do 8080, and we are in the config folder for the website monitor. So we do need to put that in there, and let's curl it. And there we go. So didn't give me anything. Let's LSLA the bin bash, and let's see. And there we go. So that did work out for us. So that is awesome. So from here we can go ahead and simply bin bash p, and now we are we have root. So we can clear the screen, put it at the top so it's a lot easier to see. And there we go. We are part of the root administration. So that is awesome. Now we have root access on this machine. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was a great machine by my friend FisMatHack. If you guys enjoyed the video, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comment section. Smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.